Hi, everyone. Okay, everything worked out today because yesterday I was having like technical issues. As I told you guys, my phone went out and then it just died or whatever. Um, and nothing happened to it. And I got up to go to work and no phone for like 2 days until I went and replaced it. And anyway, and then the computer, when I went on to do a video for you guys yesterday, I had to get on about 3 times because there was something going on. Anyway, today's a lot better. So, welcome to Lisa's Love and Light. And thank you all for being here. And for newcomers, because those who watch regularly know that um, I'm not a social worker. I don't have a certification at all in social work or therapy or anything. I'm just a person who's gone through a lot of grief and loss, and I'm just sharing with others ways that I got through it. And so I hope by listening to these videos that it's helping you as well. So thank you for being here today. The topic of discussion is showing gratitude while you heal. But before we get into that, I'm going to talk about some other things, guys. Um, First of all, I'm going to talk about something a little different just for 5 minutes. I don't share a lot about my life as far as what I'm doing, etc., and things like that. I'm very private as to what I'm doing. However, I am going to share this with you guys today. Um, I'm happy about something, and it is my third book. So I have a lot going on with this. So it's going to be published soon. So I'm going to just show you this real quick. This is my manuscript. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it took me a long time to write this book. Because during the time that I was writing this book, when I first started, there's a lot of death going on. There's a lot of chaos and stuff. So I would write, stop, do that. And there was parts of it in the book that was difficult to write because although it's fiction, the conversations that I have, because my mom is in a book, you know, are some of it is kind of true, but the book in general is fiction. So I'll say that much. And it was hard to write because, she passed away as I was writing the third book, etc. And so I am so happy that I completed it because it took a long time, and it's going to be published soon. So that's an accomplishment that I'm very happy about. And some people who I've been talking to have read my second book and have said some things. And I said, if you like that, you're going to love this. Because in the second book, it was a little slow going, and I did it like that deliberately because people were like, when we're going to get to the juicy stuff, when we're going to get to this. No, let slow. But in this book, the third one, there's a lot of sarcasm and things going on. It's probably like, I'm just going to tell you this, three different stories going on at the same time. And then there's another plot twist. So, anyway, I'm happy about that. So, I just wanted to share because, an accomplishment for me is to get something done and finish it. And as a Virgo, I like to give my all to something. And, so I'm happy about that. So anyway, um, yeah, for those who don't know, I have two prior books published, but this one is going to be, this is my baby here. This is my masterpiece. And you'll see why if you decide to purchase it when it gets published. But let's move on to why we're here, which is about healing and grief. Yesterday, for the last, not just yesterday, but for the last couple of days, I've been thinking about my dog a lot, Rocky, who passed away in 2021, because I would take him everywhere with me. So, you guys want to hear something funny? Rocky was a pug, he was an older pug. And dogs can be very healing. At first, when I first got him, it was by accident because he really wasn't supposed to be mine. When I lived in upstate New York, my neighbor who lived down a hill from me, because I lived up in the woods in a hill, on a hill. And so the neighbor who lived down a hill from me, she lost her dog tragically, and she wanted me to help her find another dog. And she was, older neighbor. And so one day I was standing in line in a bank, and I got in a conversation with this guy, and he was saying that his best friend wife wanted him to get rid of one of the pets they had because they had too much and they couldn't take care of all of them. So that's how I met Rocky. And he was supposed to be given to my neighbor, right? And when I brought him over with everything, and I was like so excited about it, and she says, I don't want him. I thought this was a girl because the dog that she had that passed away was a girl. And she goes, I don't want a boy dog. And the guy had already dropped him off, dropped everything, all his paperwork and, immunizations or whatever. And the guy is gone, and I'm standing there with Rocky on a leash looking at him, and he's looking at me. And the neighbor's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take it unless it's a girl. So I trot back up the hill with Rocky, and we go in the house, and my son goes, what's that? And I'm like, this is Rocky. And he's like, oh, because Rocky, he's an older dog, and he was sliming at the mouth and all this other stuff that dogs do. And so he became mine that way. It's funny, but and I fell in love with the dog. And I took him everywhere with me in my car. And he spent time with my son, but I think he liked spending time with me more because I'm the silly one and driving. He didn't like to be in a car a long time because if he was in a car and I was driving a long time, he starts barking and stuff, right? And so I would throw a snack in his mouth, and he'll be barking with the snack in his mouth. And I'm like, okay, we'll go back home. But Rocky was a special kind of dog because he thought he was human. And I used to take him outside in the front yard. We lived up on a hill. And I would take a stick and I would say, Rocky, go fetch this stick. He would look at me literally like a WTH look. Like, what are you doing? And I would throw the stick and I would jump up and down and do silly stuff. And I'm like, go fetch, go fetch. And he looked at me like I'm crazy. And I did that for a few days. And he just stood there like, she's crazy. And I said to my son, oh, well, he's not the typical dog. He's not going to fetch. He's not. And you guys going to laugh at this. Back in the day before I started on the healing process and whatever, you know what I told you guys in one of the prior videos about not being bothered. Not I was that type of person at times where I didn't feel like being bothered. It would just, but anyway, my dog was like that. Your dog can pick up your traits and habits. I swear this dog at times didn't want to be bothered. And he would do things that was so hysterical. And I said, oh wow, he's acting like me now. But anyway, I'm not that person anymore. But I wanted to share because I love my dog so much. And I'm thinking about in the future getting another pug because they are anyone who are dog owners and who actually own pugs, they are beautiful dogs. They have that squishy face, but they like really, really love their owners. But I wanted to share that before jumping into the topic of discussion today because anyone who knows what I'm talking about, they know, if you're a lover, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I even if I get another dog, I would never forget Rocky. He was my, I love that dog so much. So let's get into the topic of discussion. I have a little outline here so I don't forget things. Um, Gratitude. Gratitude is so important as you go through grief because what I found for myself is how to pray to God and have a relationship with Him. Without all my life growing up, I grew up in a restrictive environment, religion, can't do this, can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And it's good to have structure, However, I learned how to have a relationship with God where I didn't learn that in by going to, in organized religion. So as I went through the grief and everything was bad and horrible, horrific, and blah, blah, I think I shared this in a few videos back that I had these really horrific prayer conversations with God because I was angry. And at first, I didn't want to change for the better. I'm like, everybody's dying, and I was in this place of grief. And sometimes grief brings on anger, a lot of it. And I was saying things that nobody should be really saying. But God forgave me because He understood where I was coming from. And after I went through that, it was like I told you guys, like watching. Remember on the boat when Forrest Gump was on a boat and the boat was shaking and rocking, and then the lieutenant went up on top of the pole and he was fighting with God and raging and all this stuff. And then after everything became calm and his life changed. And this is what happened in some ways with me. It changed for the better. And I made a vow to God that if I get through this, that I would pay it forward to others because none of this is easy, none of it. And He's been there every step of the way for me. And it's the truth because there's miracles and things that have taken place only God can do, you know? And I just do my part. Like I said in prior videos, when you pray and you act in accordance to those prayers, God will do the rest. What you can't do, He will do for you. And it's important also not to lose hope when you're going through grief, because you see, especially during the shutdown, and I talk about that a lot, people, because some people started to lose hope during that time because all you seen around you was death and darkness and sickness and all of this, doom and gloom. And, it got to the point you didn't even want to turn on the TV to watch the news. Okay, let's watch something else. Let's watch, because it was so depressing, but it made me rely on God more and understand, and He answers my prayers. And one of the things I want to talk about here when I talk about gratitude, um, showing gratitude for everything, because sometimes you can ask for something, right, from God, and He gives you something, right? He answers that prayer, and you go, but He didn't answer it in a way that you wanted Him to. Maybe you asked for, I'm just using hypothetically, like you want that particular dress and you couldn't afford it. And no, maybe that's not a good example. Let me see. Let me use a different example here. Like maybe you asked for a particular job or whatever, but you get it, but it's not in the location that you want. And then you say, I don't want that. I don't want this because, yeah, I asked for this, but not, I don't want it in that location or something like that. Hopefully, I'm making sense here. But, showing gratitude because, as here's what I see: nobody, whether it's God or anybody in a natural, whether it's your family, a partner situation, or whatever, nobody have to give you anything. Nobody has to do anything, and gratitude is so important because it also helps the healing process. One thing I don't like is an ungrateful person. A person I don't, because people don't have to do anything for you. You're responsible for you, and if they give you a gift and or something, like yesterday, these earrings that I'm wearing, someone gave me these earrings, and it was a really beautiful gift, a beautiful gesture, because this person likes to make cosmetic jewelry and things like that. And I was, for me, really, oh, thank you, and I was really, I'm not being fake, genuinely grateful because nobody has to give me anything or anybody else for that matter. So always show gratitude. It's important, and I show gratitude to God as well, for His protection and guidance upon my life because I was at a point where where I was losing hope. I'll say that because every day getting up and, we were shut down and we couldn't get out except for to go to the supermarket and back home. And it just felt Like, when is this going to end? But when you and then you're going through the grief of the loss, one by one in this case, and despair sets in sometimes, and if you don't check it, the despair can lead to loss of hope, and we never want to get there, because once you lose hope, everything is down the drain after that. And let's find ways to be part of the solution and not the problem, because there's a lot of problems and conflict and chaos in the world today, and it's important to be part of the solution to these things, which is not easy in the world that we live in today. So, in order to heal and to continue to heal, let's talk about ways that you can start to feel better, even though the process may be slow. Let's talk about that for a minute. You start to feel better from grief. You never get over it, people. Excuse me. You never get over it, but you can get through it. And one of the ways that you can feel better is to start to engage in things that you like. Like, for example, volunteer at your favorite charity, whether that's an animal shelter, or you take on something like that you're passionate about. Like me, I started writing more during the shutdown, listening to more music, a playlist of it, listening to positive videos, little by little, then, engaging every week in therapy, grief therapy, which wasn't easy for me because I didn't want to do some of the suggestions that my therapist made. He always saw things like, um, I may see, at first I was seeing things one way, and he was showing me another way to look at it, another perspective. And I didn't want to do that at first, and it was important. I grew up in a family where I where I am different from everybody else. I marched to the beat of a different drum. That's why it was so difficult for me to stay in organized religion. I'm not knocking that for anyone. I'm just saying, for me, you can't do this, you can't do that, but you can do this, but you can't do that. And I need to be me. That's so important, to be my authentic self. Otherwise you just feel like, that movie, The Stepford Wives, where they were programmed to do whatever their husbands told them. That's what it felt like to me, and I couldn't do it anymore. It's important for me to embrace life, to be myself, to be my authentic self, and that wasn't it. It wasn't helping me. So, it's important to do things as you go through grief that is going to keep your mind busy, because your mental health can suffer as well as your physical health when you're going through grief. It's so important to find a way to get through these things, and that's some of the things I did to get through it. you know I would look at a lot of dog videos. At first it was hard, but really, and just throwing myself into my book, that's how I got it finished. Having a conversation with my therapist, and he was saying, just finish it. What will help you finish this? Because it wasn't writer's block. It was just, as I sat down, I would just start crying. I would be triggered by some form of grief. And he said to me, what will help? And I said, well, I like music. Put on a playlist of music. And as I started to do that, little by little, I was able to do that and finish my book. And I'm a huge person who like writing and literature and things like that. Like, for example, Friday night, because I like to watch TCM, like tonight, if they have anything good. Last Friday, they had on Wuthering Heights, and I did a essay in college about that, because I took a lot of writing class in college, and literature classes. Anybody you want to get to me and appeal to me, your knowledge of literature and movies and stuff like that, that really gets to me, because I love stuff like that, and music. And there was one that came on that I watched last week, Torch Song Trilogy, and that was really good. I loved that. Anne Bancroft was in that too. So I like things that tell the story. you know. And as I grew up, I read books all the time. I was a bookworm, you know, where my rest of my siblings were popular, you know, Miss Popular, and I wasn't. You know, I was the one who always marched to the beat of the different drum, considered the weird one. But anyway, I am who I am, right? And so learning to get through the grief, you know, and look at it. And if you feel sad, you know, crying, let that happen, because that's an outlet for the pain. Let yourself feel that, you know, because it's an outlet for the pain. And as you get through it and you start to slowly feel better, and as you feel better, do better and keep yourself busy, you know, as more time goes by. One of the things I can say to you here is that time will get you through it and help you. Give yourself time. Don't rush the process. So that is the message for today, you know. And let's, I'm going to say this in reference to myself. Turning what I learned to do, besides prayer and having that relationship with God, I learned to turn pain into a purpose, purpose into power, power into paying it forward to help other people as I vowed to do. And that's what I'm doing here on this channel. And I'm asking you to share this video, subscribe, send me comments of what you want to hear so we could talk about it here on this channel, and share it with other people who may be going through a hard time, but they're not telling you, because some people don't talk about their grief and what they're feeling, but they can hear it here and get encouraged, you know, and uplifted, and know that they're not dealing with this alone. So that's the message here today. And everyone have a good weekend. And I may be here on Sunday for you. If not, I'll be back on Monday. But enjoy this weather. And guys, it's creepy. Today's Friday the 13th, but I don't see it as a bad luck day. It may actually bring something good. So thank you all for listening and being here today. And please share this video once again. And I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.